Hey, everybody. Babe, wake up. A new Zim stream just de-opt. Indeed, the stream just de-opt. How's it going, everyone? I doubt there's anything different in terms of how it sounds here on stream, but one thing I did check was in preparation for future videos, I was checking my gain as well as other features on my mic, because if there's one thing that generally my videos have versus my streams, it's the fact that my voice is a lot lighter on my videos versus streams. As a result, I have to like bass boost my videos a whole lot, and as a result, that's always just a pain to do. And yeah, so I'm working on stuff on that. I'm really happy with the success of how the Monsters video is doing, because at the moment it's peaked over the last live stream we did, the debate stream, which I'll be talking more about the debate streams as well, because those are still happening. But I think that given some feedback I've gotten from some people, I'm going to try to change how some of them are done. Like, I'm going to change how they're conducted when I am not participating versus when other people are participating, because I think that's just better for everyone. But at the moment right now, I'm really thankful that the Monsters video is tracking just behind the One Monsters Moment video, which got kneecapped because of the copyright claims. So that was annoying, but it's doing really well. It's past like a good bit of the last few videos I have done recently. At least the last couple, because some of the more like the videos that have come out like years ago, or not years ago, like a year ago, still made it into at least 1K in terms of views. So this is tracking and doing really well, and then everyone's been really happy when it comes to the Kaisei era Godzilla. That short's doing really well. So I've got a few shorts that are coming. I'm going to be working on one tonight, writing another one tomorrow, and then I've got some other stuff that I'm working on, some Godzilla related and some not. But enough of me waffling. Let's bring on some people. So we got Al. How's it going?
Hi, I'm fine.
And we also got the Sea Monsters, the fried dawn.
Hey.
How do fried dawns taste like anyway?
That's a good question.
But and then who else is in here? So obviously wake up. Like I was only like a few seconds late, and it was buffering. I don't know why it took so long. And what's good, Brandine? Good to see you guys. And of course, even though he's flipping you off, he loves you guys. If you've got any figures that you want customly painted, he does a really good job. If you check my old post, you can see that he took a Gemstone Godzilla and gave it the Stan Winston Godzilla design colors, and he repainted my Varan, which is very nice, because I liked the Bandai Varan. I just think that it could have done better with a little bit more paint job, and he was really awesome for that. So yeah,
nice.
But as we wait for more people, if there's anyone on stream or in the chat that wants to bring up a Monsterverse or even just Godzilla, because I think we'll switch these from Monsterverse open debates to Godzilla open debates. If anyone's got a topic they want to bring up that we can discuss, please feel free to.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll start. Well, actually, I was gonna say, let's like, I don't know. You know, we can go easy. We'll go very easy. So yeah, GXK is bad, guys. Actually, no, that's not even bad. That's not at all in any way, shape, or form controversial. Actually, since you're here, C, what is one Cottom take that you'll defend to the death? I'm curious.
One take I will defend to the death. I would say mainly the way that King of the Monsters takes like sort of the thematics of the point of the Monsterverse Godzilla as we established in 2014, and how it just kind of like further just sort of not only like cements it, but also like even like elaborates on it and really really hits the point home about the point of Godzilla and his role in the world, at least in the world of the MonsterVerse. Which, and in a way where he's kind of like, it pretty much more or less defines him as sort of like a being that is, while he does kind of commit some, there's some collateral damage involved with him, like it is ultimately for like the betterment of the world, which, and the way that King of the Monsters kind of like does that, how it ties in with, his, the humanity's connection to him in terms of, what the past kind of establishes. I would say like it does a really good job with that, which unfortunately the Wingard films don't really like. I'm not even sure which either contradict it or they don't really seem to. They pretty much barely even touch on it. Like it's almost like a non-factor in it in the Wingard films.
So in this case, I think what I will start to elaborate on, at least from if I want to play devil's advocate against you, is what are your thoughts on the idea of the ancient civilization and where they are now, and how that kind of changes the dynamic of King of the Monsters and its themes?
The ancient civilization that we see in King of the Monster, or at least the remnants of it.
The remnants of it.
It kind of more. I would say it kind of more just kind of like sort of like reinforces it. Like Godzilla, kind of the fact that Godzilla does kind of recognize that as a place, and and like his home was used to be a human civilization. It kind of like means that Godzilla does recognize humanity as something that is part of the natural order that is worth protecting, ultimately.
Well, one thing I would say is that by the idea that Godzilla had ties to an ancient civilization, and because the MonsterVerse originally was set up as more of a like ancient aliens type of universe where the past wasn't what we thought it was, I would say that in a way, kind of the ancient civilization kind of makes the idea of coexistence a little worse, because since there was no lasting civilizational idea in terms of the connection between Godzilla and humanity, and that whole idea was lost, that in a way it's not even like there is a call to return to an original state for humans and the Titans, but in reality, if that was never properly maintained, it kind of speaks almost to the failure of that coexistence.
Well, the thing is, like, here's the thing, like, what even like brought down that ancient civilization for
and
starters?
I think that would probably be, I would say that is one problem I think I have with the concept of the ancient civilization, with how it's executed, as I like the idea, but due to the fact that we don't really know or see what happened, and we do get like some hints as to what it was, but they aren't explained in the film. And I think it's something that I was about to say Wingard, but Doherty mentioned in like a tweet or something. And if I recall quickly, that tweet also says that the fault lay at the hands of humans. I think that it speaks to this weird trend of the MonsterVerse, like continually like blaming humans for things, when a lot of things that happen in the universe are like kind of beyond their control, and they just kind of dealt like a pretty poor hand.
Yeah, well, I would, but at least with King of the Monsters, like humans were ultimately responsible for the events of that movie because of the awakening of King Ghidorah. Now, granted, they underestimated, humans like Emma Russell and Alan Jonah. They underestimated what King Ghidorah was capable of and what seemed to have been his ultimate goal was. But,
but I think the other thing too is that, like, when it comes to at least like what I remember of the Doherty tweet, this is something I'm going to want to look for in the future, because I'm going to talk about this in a future video. But if I recall correctly, the reason why the ancient civilization fell was due to the result of the Titans being used as weapons. When, like, if you stretch the meaning of that, that is kind of what you see in King of the Monsters, although they're less weapons and more tools. But then at that point, you're just kind of getting like technical with the terminology, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, like, even like I mean, like if all that information is just like in a tweet and it's not supported in the film itself, like
It
even if it
doesn't.
is
Yeah, it
from
means
the
little.
director, it's only like yeah. I mean, that can only take us so far. Like like the humans, the civilization that worship Godzilla, that is basically Atlantis. Let's just say like it's
Yeah,
underwater
we'll
and
just
what
use
have you.
Atlantis for the term.
Like yeah. Like since we don't know, like since we don't even have the context of how this Atlantis type of civilization fell, like could we really blame it on the failure of coexistence between man and titans? Like what if it was what if it was something else?
Yeah, well, that's the
I
thing is that
honestly just thought that it was like, like it flooded or something, because it's like at the bottom of everything full of water. So I always assume just by the movie that, it's literally Atlantis, like it sank.
hmm Well, the thing is that like when Serizawa says like that Godzilla is the key to our coexistence, and he's literally just kind of chilling in the presence of like a sunken civilization. That is all we know directly in the film, but again, human history kind of speaks for itself in that aspect. In this world, there was no like like proper recording of a Titan civilization prior to like Godzilla and stuff awakening in the modern day. So the lack of like proper acknowledgement of this does speak to this idea that maybe like there was some kind of connection that was lost, which I do feel undermines the idea of coexistence there.
Like if we pull from real life, like actually in India, there was like this tsunami once. And as the water went back, like in 2014, before a tsunami, sometimes the water just falls back. It showed that there was like an entire city on the coast that no one knew about it. And then there was a tsunami. So like there's recordings of it for like just literally like 5 minutes maybe, and then it disappeared once more. So like the way I see it, anything could have happened. I don't think that it's to the detriment of the movie itself.
Well, I think
I do
that like
think
it's
that
an
the
interesting
tweets,
example. I think that's an
yeah,
interesting example, but like the problem with that is that like when it comes to the because you're dealing with like an abstract concept rather than like the presence of the civilization itself, because what we're dealing with is the idea of whether or not the Titans coexisting with humanity or Godzilla or as being the pet of Godzilla is a good plan. Like I think the best example is that like if we were to say democracy is a good idea for civilizations, but like there was no civilizations prior that try to exercise democracy or try to uphold it, and like any examples of more democratic civilizations were like lost to history, it kind of definitely it would serve the point that maybe this method of like living isn't necessarily the best or the most like maintainable, if that makes sense.
yeah, no, like I get it. The thing is, the fact that the civilization is there, like the temples and all of that, doesn't mean that maybe some people did survive and that maybe translated to other civilizations. But as we were saying, like it's really open because like if the director says something in a tweet, yeah, that shows the intent of the person and maybe that they didn't think of the execution that well.
Yeah.
But also, it's something that it's basically left in the air if future directors want to act on it or they just want to retcon it.
Yeah, but
And honestly,
I
it wouldn't even be a retcon if it's not official in the movie.
well, I think like all we do know that is official that's from the movies is the idea that that there was an ancient civilization and that Godzilla is the key to, or at least is stated to be the key to that coexistence. And I think that
Yeah.
that like
Well, the thing is, like, and I'm sorry, I'll
no,
let you
you're
go
good.
if you.
You definitely make your point.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I would say like the fact that Godzilla could like since up to this point we've seen him like essentially like dealing with things that upset the balance, whether it's like the Mutos like potentially overpopulating the planet or Ghidorah terraforming the planet. Like the ancient civilization, essentially had like their existence kind of the fact that they kind of like worshipped Godzilla as essentially this key to coexistence between man and titans because he was like the one that was keeping it in check, like keeping other titans in check.
Mm-hmm. I guess that I understand what you're saying there, but like another thing too is that like another thing we can look at too, and I think that this is not necessarily nitpicky, but it's like one of those interesting things where this is like something that King of the Monsters definitely, because it introduces the idea of the Alpha Titan and the balance there. It's interesting that we see at the end of King of the Monsters a Mito bowing to Godzilla, whereas in the first film, the idea of the Mitos and Godzilla is more of a I hear myself talking. I'm just gonna wait real quick. Is that UC?
Let me.
I'm listening through my headphones, so it can be me.
I think that's C then, because it's both of us are talking.
Crap.
And
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is mine. Here, let me refresh.
Are you listening through your headphones or are you listening to something else?
No, I'm listening. I'm like my mic.
No,
is on my
not you.
headphones.
I was talking about C. But it looks like he's gonna bounce out and come back in.
Also, one thing I wanted to say. Well, actually, I'll wait for him to come back. Never mind.
Are you guys playing Giga Bash? Yes, I am playing Giga Bash. And because real quick, Godzilla's the Alpha Titan. I was wondering if the Iwis was the ancient civilization built Godzilla's home. It could be possible. But that's like one of those things where it's like we don't really know. Also, welcome back. C.
Okay. All right. Is it going still?
No, you're good there now. At least I don't hear myself now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one thing that's interesting about King of the Monsters, where about this idea of Godzilla keeping balance. You don't see that idea of Godzilla like trying to make the Mitos submit versus how you see them in King of the Monsters, where you have that one Mito submitting. And I think that like that's definitely one of those things that maybe they shouldn't have done, because it's one of those things where you see it on screen. So therefore it's not like, oh, well, it happened in a comic that would explain it. It's something completely different.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you wonder if they just went full Transformers, and just because they had the model available, they decided to reuse it.
Well, it's also
I think that's what happened.
Also,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hello.
One thing I wanted to say is, like Godzilla's not the only one that actually took care of civilizations. Like we see Mothra, and well, we of course know about Skull Island. Mm-hmm. So it's true that maybe he's not the only one that could be the key to coexistence. And Serizawa should know that by then.
Yeah, he should definitely know that. I think another thing too is that like a KSI being the best written Monsterverse film has an issue where it kind of makes Godzilla technically redundant in his own universe, because say what you will about like the Iwis being destroyed in the Wingard films, the Kongs at least had a more consistent civilization under their protection, and Kong really just does what Godzilla does. And with the invention of the Hollow Earth, now Kong, it may take him a little bit longer, but he's able to do what Godzilla does to not like a pretty similar degree. Maybe not exactly the same, but.
Also, should we like think about it retroactively? Because
I think
I don't know, like at that
I think it's fair for like if a film that comes afterwards is it like does something that it retcons something from a previous film, it does make the universe overall worse, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if you're looking at, so like I would say anything wrong with King of the Monsters, the only time it should be like looked at versus another film is if it's affecting KSI or 2014, whereas GXK being the latest film in the franchise has a lot more that needs to be accounted for.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, well, then also the Iwi from Hollow Earth, like, there are yet again proof that Mothra, because before I was talking about the civilization that was like coexisting with Mothra at the beginning of King of the Monsters, they also kind of seem to have died out or just, like moved away. But yeah,
Yeah. Well,
this
if we're gonna
importance
go,
on Godzilla
oh no,
has been
finish your point.
dropped.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was about to end. I was saying that you're right. The importance of Godzilla has been like dropped. To be fair.
I think another thing too is that the this is like really mostly focused on like the GXK GVK era lore, because originally with the Skull Island Berthacon comic, you see that the Iwi traveled to Skull Island via boats, and then you learn that the Iwi and Kongs had a war with Godzilla, and they were expelled out of the Hollow Earth. So then the question becomes because you could argue that, oh well, the Iwi didn't come up from Hollow Earth to Skull Island; they came somewhere else and then came to Skull Island. But then at that point, um, like if you were to read that, like the Birth of Kong comic versus GXA, you have to make a lot of weird inferences for anyone to really think that they're meaning that oh, they show up they came from Hollow Earth, but they came up from a different part, like they came up somewhere else separate from Skull Island, even though Skull Island was originally supposed to be a part of Hollow Earth brought up to the surface.
Yeah,
Also,
and they somehow got transported through the portals, which have the gravitational tisms that would
so then the other thing is that could a Kong have brought brought Skull Island people you ever seen that one the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla series where they fight these two monsters in a pocket underneath the ocean, and their baluster is damaged, and as a result they use Godzilla holds them in their hand to bring them down past the ocean pressure. The only way I can see the Iwi getting up from the Hollow Earth is if they were in other Primatus Kong's hands and they came up to the surface that way to protect them from the pressure.
I'm thinking of something way worse.
Real quick. The funniest thing in the Monsterverse is that the couple in 2014 plays the twins in Age of Ultron. I always remember when 2014 was coming out, that people would always comment on the fact that brother and sister are playing a couple in 2014.
That's man, we've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that Gia was in Egypt. She came on Mothra's back, most likely. So, we've seen people get transported by Titans to and from the surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the other thing too is that with Mothra, it's very weird because Mothra is one of those cases where how she's summoned in the film is unique to how she appeared in King of the Monsters. As a result, the mechanics behind any of her powers in this film are nebulous compared to how her powers were in King of the Monsters. Because at least in King of the Monsters, you realize she comes out of an egg, and that's she's in her larval stage. She has a cocoon become her adult form. She's able to fly. She has God rays, and she has silk and a stinger. Those all pretty easily explained. But then in GXK, she just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you can assume that she's maybe she was in a cocoon somewhere else, but then she's already in her adult form, so she's not a larval. We don't see a larval version of this Mothra. And then for Monsterverse, the Bear fans, it's apparently that this Mothra was just there the whole time and is a apex Mothra in a way, which is it's also weird to that lore, because then it also contradicts the other lore we've seen where it's Mothra is a continuous lineage instead of what's it called? Instead of there being other Mothras that can be present at the same time. Ooh, double kill. Double kill.
Yeah, not only that, it's why didn't you help with Ghidorah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, is that you really, there's a lot you have to worry about when you keep introducing more threats into like the series from Hollow Earth or like allies from Hollow Earth, because I think like
Yeah.
one thing that's gonna definitely be very problematic is the introduction of Shimo post GXK, considering how powerful Shimo is supposed to be.
You know, it will be really funny if she just like dies.
If she dies,
immediately.
I will be like, I will laugh. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mind. Like, I don't mind the concept of Shimo. I don't really like the design. That's neither here nor there. But like, at that point, that's kind of what you get for like making a monster like
so
similar in power to that of King Ghidorah, but like also survive and become an ally by the end of it. Like,
yeah, it's
you put the
like
you
the
put
typical...
the next writers into a corner.
Yeah, it's basically that syndrome of you play against the final boss, and then when he's on your team, he fucking sucks.
Exactly.
That's power creep.
Yeah, that's power creep in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like the Monsterverse did not have to worry too much about power creep, because ultimately there could be small threats you could have dealt with other than like a Ghidorah level threat. Like, I think Scar King on his own without Shimo is interesting, because like you could do a strength in numbers type of scenario with him, where it's less like an like ultimate superpowered monster and more like dealing with an army of a empire who is new. But instead, like, you have to give him the power of like a Titan similar to that of King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Which, and then also all it does is that it makes Scar King less, like, even more pathetic. But then, like, we're supposed to like take him seriously because he's like super cunning when he's really not.
Yeah, honestly, the whole, like, and considering the fact that Scar King and his guys are pretty much like just kind of regular apes that, Godzilla could eat. Like, if Godzilla was able to, like, defeat Ghidorah by just, like, essentially by getting into his burning mode, when you have, like, his energized mode that's, like, not too far off, let's just be real here, because he literally leaves a path of because he literally just leaves, like, scorched earth just by walking through, as we see of him in Spain and GXK. Like, that would be like, Godzilla is already OP enough as it is. He should be able to like melt Scar King and his forces, which is why Shimo, they would need to have something like we have to establish something like Shimo there, because otherwise he could just Kentucky fry those apes.
Well, the thing is too is that like I'd say burning is still stronger than pink Godzilla, because like the only things that like we see a burning Godzilla is like pretty visual, whereas at least in GXK we do know that like there's like a 20% like multiplier on him, but we also know that Godzilla came down from his burning state. But like at least in the case of that burning state, we literally see him just melt the surroundings around him and exude enough power to completely like atomize Ghidorah for the most part. Whereas with GXK's like the evolved form, it doesn't really do anything all that impressive outside of like
I wasn't even talking about evolved as in the pink form. I'm talking about like when he was like blue,
supercharged.
That's another. Yeah. Well, then the supercharged form, like, also is essentially like a mini burning form, because they do say that they can't get closer to him because of how hot he is.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to when I said that he can look. Yeah.
Well, can I interject?
Go ahead.
Anyone can interject. Everyone just kind of.
Well, I just wanted to say that Burning Godzilla only had like 3 pulses in him, so sure, it may be more powerful, but it's only going to be very limited. So, Evolved Godzilla is going to probably last longer, and
that's true. Yeah. The one thing I think is that like even if Evolve lasts longer, Evolve like visually does not do anything that's like overall like super impressive compared to like
he is more robust than his previous forms.
But like, what would you say is more robust about him? Like outside the fact that like we see him fight Shimo, but we never really know how his previous forms did against.
I think the novelization said something about like his atomic breath that just makes her angry, but from what I saw.
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
You can assume because he's wanting to evolve that he's doing it to try to be stronger so he can take on Shimo.
You can assume that, but like I'd say the job also of the form is to demonstrate power outside of just because we see it does not necessarily mean that that is
he does like, I don't know how his previous state would have fought in the anti-gravity field, but he was like able to propel himself using the apes as pushing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he could fight.
He destroyed the storm.
If we also talk about the fact that Godzilla was able to propel himself more in the Hollow Earth, and then in the novel it says that it only hurts Shimo. I think if I recall in the novelization, the only reason why he's able to do that is because Godzilla views it similar to swimming, so he's able to be pretty versatile in that aspect.
Yeah.
And then as for dispelling Ghidorah's storm, not Ghidorah's storm. Well, yeah, Godzilla by the end of his burning form was able to dispel Ghidorah's storm, and it involved he was able to dispel the storm that Shimo created, which. Yeah, I'd say that's again a similar type of power in that aspect. But another thing to consider is that Mechagodzilla is weaker than King Ghidorah, but most people assume that Mechagodzilla is stronger than King Ghidorah because Mechagodzilla came after.
I think Adam Wingard said that Godzilla would have beaten Mechagodzilla
if he was at full power.
Yeah,
well, I would say that's another problem with the Wingard films is that he doesn't I don't think there's enough for to really say that Godzilla was at 50% power.
I think it's actually really clear because his breath actually does get weaker and it looks way more closer to 2014 than it looks a couple of minutes previously.
The beam lock, his outer dorsal plates are flickering.
Yeah, and also it looks way more steamy than a beam.
Well, I'm just saying it because Adam Wingard made it a statement. So
we can look at a statement and then see whether or not there is enough to make that conclusion. Because
I mean, it also is visible in the movie actually.
I don't trust
really
Adam Wingard.
I want to say because if we know for a fact that Evolved has 20 times more energy than the previous Godzilla. So if he has more energy, technically would be able to keep up with Mechagodzilla more. So technically, it is more.
Well, he has more energy compared to the
atomic
20% energy. He has more energy output compared to how he previously was in when it came to that state after getting the power plant. So he's more powerful than he was there, but not necessarily that he was more powerful than the burning form.
Well, I'm saying
because the burning form was a singular power up there. So.
Well, I'm just saying, usually in general, because the burning form is a very specific event that needed to happen in order to do that. Because he needed to be overcharged, he had so much energy in him, and then Mothra had to die in order for it to happen that way.
You want to know what's kind of funny? About how about him in his evolved form, pink form is essentially it's so much
black.
It's so much more powerful.
Oh crap!
When you pretty much watch his fight with when you see Godzilla shooting at Scar King in Rio de Janeiro, and Scar King does kind of get nicked in the back by Godzilla, and Scar King just gets right back up. He recovered from that, despite Godzilla supposedly being even more powerful than he was supposedly back in GVK or earlier GXK in his evolved form. Whereas in GVK, a non-evolved Godzilla, who even if we want to just humor the whole thing of him being at 50% power, was able to do the same to Kong, and Kong just had to recover, was actually thrown off by it, significantly thrown off by it. It had to take him a couple, even just a moment to get back up.
Well, he was farther up in the air than Scar King was.
I would say another thing too is the fact that physically when it comes, I would say that is definitely a point, but I'd say both Kong and Scar King visibly are they show about the same amount of damage. I would say the only problem I have with it is that Scar King is portrayed as pretty weak overall physically, compared to Kong. So I think the idea of him just kind of taking the atomic breath similar to how a powered up Kong did. Kong did, I think is the only issue I particularly have, I would say, with that scene.
Yeah,
the explanation actually is really clear. Scar King is red, That's why.
What?
I mean, I know. Just joking.
Yeah.
I think someone said it
like it just kind of proves that like Godzilla's evolved form is kind of redundant, because when we actually see him in action against Scar King and Shimo, it doesn't really seem to be doing any more, or even like that much more of a difference in power against Scar King than when he was like fighting Kong and GBK, and Kong is objectively stronger than Scar King and more resilient.
I'm gonna be devil's
Do you
advocate.
think that
I just want to say real quick from chat, to be fair, Godzilla landed a direct hit, while Godzilla landed a glancing hit from the looks of it. They're about the same. I would say.
Yeah, the same.
I'm also gonna remove this from stream, and then we can look at what the scenes looked like.
Well, I wanted to say, someone who made like a video like going over it, he said like bro would rather deal with the pain than the pain of having to put in the work to fight Godzilla.
But
not to mention the fact that like I just realized that like
so he's just
I didn't just realize that.
He's brushing off the pain, so because if he isn't going to get that crystal, he's dead. So he's like brushing off that pain that he's got from Godzilla, just so he can get that crystal. Like he's
maybe.
I wanted
that's my
to
best
ask something.
Well, I've heard from someone that when he pushed Ghidorah in his Boston form, like he couldn't really move him that much, but in his evolved form, he was able to tackle Shimo.
Okay, I can bring it up as another
How much does Shimo weigh?
Too much.
Probably.
She's fat.
Let's see.
I always hear people say she's too skinny.
She looks like she doesn't look anorexic. She just looks like weirdly lanky. But let me see. So Kong 2014.
She has like weasel proportions, but that's a mean that she's not like heavy. She could just have a lot of muscle.
She has a lot. She has Ariana Grande proportions.
She has like that, like like those types of really like lanky, muscular dogs. That's what I always compare Shimo to.
And plus, Ghidorah would have to have like more body mass than Shimo, because like you got like the 3 heads, a main body, 2 tails, and you got like a pair of large wings to account for.
Mm-hmm.
These wings are very thin compared to his wings.
Oh, okay, that clip doesn't actually show the full fight. Okay, that's useful. That's useful to me. I love you movie clips. No, I don't.
Which clip do you need? Because I have all Scar King clips on my.
No, right now I was just looking for the beam clash between.
Oh,
really? You're telling me this? Why? Why do you do this to me?
You're not able to find the beam clash?
Yeah, well, what's it called? I just tried to look. I wanted to get the whole fight if we need to find more clips, but I can just literally look up Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla Beam Clash, because that's probably just gonna do it.
Yes, the Batman v Superman ripoff. I love
it. Well, there you are.
We can hear you now. I mean, it's kind of a callback to Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla more than anything.
All of them are.
It was shot for shot done the exact same way. If you look at it, you see when Superman shows up into the area, and then Doomsday fires his beam, and then you get the shot of Superman struggling, then the shot of Doomsday struggling. It's shot the exact same way.
Well, Final Wars did that as well.
Not like BVS. Not like BVS.
Did Final
Wars? Yeah, because it wasn't as dramatic.
Fair enough. All right.
Because I'd say like, because I know Godzilla was able to, right here. Is when you see it.
Yeah, he's able to throw him.
He's able to throw Ghidorah pretty easily.
I'm
pausing like an erratic crackhead so that like I don't get my balls chopped off. Yeah, like right.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he's able to throw.
Yeah, I mean he's able to throw Ghidorah, but it's not like he's straight up like the only time he tackles him is when he's
like right there. He literally just full on throw him.
Yeah, are we gonna see the Beam Clash? Okay.
Yeah, so because I'm looking for a Kong clip and then do.
By the way, Zim, I'm playing Spider-Man PS4 right now, and I'm at the mission where there's a party full of costume people. I saw one dressed as Godzilla, and immediately got a PTSD flashback.
Also, what's it
take
called?
a picture.
Wait, why?
Take a picture.
Why
I already did. I'll send it when I can.
Question.
Awesome.
So,
first,
His usually doesn't all of his dorsal plates for 2019 Godzilla usually light up at the same time?
Because so the only time that you don't see it is like right here, because you do see
his middle ones are glowing first, and then his
then the side ones glow.
And the color is clearly way dimmer.
Well, it could also be with the lights as well.
All right, we got to get to the part where he gets hit in the air.
But even the axe is shining so much compared to Godzilla, and that's just like the axe.
Oh, Zim, off topic, related to GVK. One thing I noticed is that
even right here, see, because that does seem pretty inconsistent with how he acts, where like the plates go up here like this, and then you see the side ones. Because I think like if I can get
could you go back? I wanted to see if that was just side ones or the middle ones.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
right there, because it's
his middle ones.
His middle ones are glowing up here.
Yeah, it's a little. I think it's just a little blurry.
I think like right here though, it's like with how they show it for Godzilla, like now it's sort of like with the peaks in his plates, it glows and then it glows up the middle ones and then the side ones as well. If that makes sense. I just remove that from the screen real quick. I just want to do something. There we go. Okay. Any other? Actually, should I pull up a Shimon clip or?
Zim, I got something.
Were you trying to do the Scar versus Kong falling from the beam, or are you trying to do them clashing?
I think all of it. I remember I saw there's a video that had the entire fight, but I think what's more important. Oh no, that's an I see an 8-minute one, so that should be the entire fight. I think. Okay, yeah. Because we have the Kong fight clip here as well. Yeah, that clip does go over everything we need. So, okay. Let me pull back. And
this one.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep, right here. Yeah,
so
let's see.
Yep. It's like a 1.
Yeah, he wasn't as far up in the compared to the one where where Kong jumps and he's like spiraling in the air.
Yeah, but I think that has more to do with the fact that like Kong, because he was higher up, that's why the fall is more traumatic rather than like
well, they both exaggerate the same amount of pain when they get hit, but I guess
but that's actually the problem, because what Simoster was saying is that this is supposed to be so much stronger. Like Scarcane should be like
Evolved Godzilla's atomic breath is supposed to be more powerful than his regular atomic breath, but
when he charges up, isn't it like a Kamehameha the way he charges it up? And like he clearly is exerting like a lot more power exerted into that blast than
that's supposed to be the point.
Right.
His eyes are fucking steaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the entire air is getting significantly hotter, and yet the damage output is exactly the same. But at this point, Godzilla is supposed to be powerful enough to kill God right now. So, like, how this discrepancy between visuals and text and subtext is really the problem here.
Another thing too is that remember when Lance Reddick's character says that everyone was evacuated, yet these people are on the top of a building somewhere?
They didn't say everyone. They didn't say everyone was evacuating. They're evacuating right now.
Well, what we can, if we want to pull up.
Are these people still there?
There are people still there. There's shots of after that was said. There are people that are still inside the building. So this is why I don't trust the writing.
Running around the building.
There's cars too.
Not only that, but there's even but at the beginning of the first Hong Kong fight between Godzilla and Kong, like when Kong, gets his axe stuck in the building, there's a shot where we see people running, and it's like from the inside of that building, and people are running out as Kong and Godzilla start fighting. I was like, what are you people doing there?
They want to watch the fight, that's why.
Yeah, as soon as he comes out of the hole, there's literally people there.
Yeah,
because there's always people.
I want to see because
I think my best defense would be is that Godzilla came in so fast that they just didn't have enough time to evacuate.
So why did they say that everybody evacuated? How would they know that?
They didn't say that everyone is evacuated.
They said that
he said everyone
is being evacuated. Being.
Being is out. Oh, being okay.
Yeah, I did. As far as I can
I'm
pull up
trying
the
to remember.
clip.
Yeah, if you can
You
bring up
want
the
to know
clip.
what's fun?
If you can bring
The
up the clip,
problem
put it in
though
the
is
DMs, and then
that
we can look at it.
the
It's just
problem
like
though is that
Hang on,
Monarch.
I've given the order, Doctor. The city is being evacuated. Okay.
the
Okay.
city's
The
being
problem though is
okay.
that
All right, then
the
that's on
problem
me
though is
then.
It's
that
being
sorry.
evacuated, and like
Yeah, the
Godzilla
problem
just
though.
appeared.
Real
The
quick,
problem
who's
is
got
in
so
this
much? Who's
instance
got
is
a lot
that
of background audio? Real quick.
Yeah, there's let one person at a time.
Yeah, I'm just saying, who's got the constant sound in the background? Who's that? I'm just gonna mute people randomly, and I'm gonna see if I can find it. Wait.
I think it was Black and Rooney, I guess.
I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black, just unmute yourself when you want to say something, and that way, like, there's less stuff going on in the background.
Oh yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. I'll do it.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So the problem with they say the city's being evacuated, and that just kind of as Godzilla arrives, which kind of speaks to the incompetence of Monarch in GVK. Like they should have like the moment they noticed Godzilla was like changing course pretty much on his way to Hong Kong, they should be like, yo, we need to evacuate this city right now. Like get on the call.
The other thing too is that
it gets worse actually.
Scene
It gets worse. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It actually gets worse because there is an actual scene with Mark Russell where we actually get to see the trajectory of Godzilla being mapped to be on it for him to be on his way to Hong Kong. They actually map it out, and they even comment on it like, "Oh, he's on his way to a populated city." At that specific point, at that point in time where they managed to map it out, and this was even before Kong even reached the area where he got the axe. They should have ordered the entire city to evacuate at that point in time.
Yeah, it's like, and you can't even say oh, how did they know? How did they know he was going to Hong Kong? It's like if they were able to map out his trajectory when he was getting on his way to San Francisco in 2014. They sure as shit would know that his trajectory is toward Hong Kong long enough so that they try to like let the Hong Kong people know that they need to evacuate.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is a King of the Monsters problem.
The Tasman Sea, from where he was, Godzilla should have they should have already been able to evacuate Hong Kong if Godzilla was that far away from where they were. Like, it seems very unlikely that there would still be that many people still kind of bumming around in the city and in like places that high if they knew Godzilla was on his way to that location there.
Exactly.
I also think that what's
they have
it called?
A Hong Kong location there, right?
Yeah, they have. Well, yeah,
they have a base.
There's Chinese Monarch locations. So yeah, that's another thing.
Then yeah, that's a fair point.
I also noticed something. So I don't know if this is a King of the Monsters problem or a GVK problem, but the whole concept of Godzilla's territorial routes, they are complete bogus. In Eileen Andrews in reaching the fight on the boat, which I mean, that fight in itself falls apart at the seams. But well, I'll get to that when my GVK video comes out. So she says, "Oh, we've done everything we can to avoid Godzilla's territorial waters." Funny thing, according to King of the Monsters, Godzilla's territorial routes are the Tasman Sea. So the film is essentially lying. I don't know if this is a King of the Monsters problem for establishing it, or GVK for not following it up.
GVK problem for not following it.
It's GVK, definitely.
Oh, okay.
As the film that follows up on it, then it is the film that follows up on its fault for not following what was already established.
The reason I ask is because they also changed the location of Skull Island, according to the King of the Monsters. The Skull Island's location was somewhere near Hawaii, I think it was, around that area, and they changed it so that it's further away from the Arctic. So in the movie in GVK, they actually travel a further distance just to get to Antarctica, while at the same time positioning Kong in an area where Godzilla can get to him easily and kill him. So they spend a much longer time just trying to get to Antarctica than they would have if the Skull Island was in the original location, as established by Kong Skull Island.
It's kind of funny because even Kong Skull Island contradicts 2014 because they use found in Monarch or like Godzilla was awoken or something in the 40s when it was the 50s in 2014 movie. So with Awakening.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's actually that sounds pretty catastrophic now that I think about it.
Yeah, the Awakening has a lot of problems with it because of establishing Monarch at a different time from how it is in the film, and I think that in that case, like I think the film takes precedent, and the like I say in my my recent MonsterVerse video, the thing is that he's worked on both the novel and the film, so there was no reason at all for those to contradict each other.
But he goes by Awakening, which contradicts 2014. But of course, the films come first before like the graphic novel.
This is why I don't trust them. The graphic novels, I sometimes will refer to them, but this is why I don't trust them at all.
I think.
Oh no, those aren't even canon.
No, they're canon.
I mean, they're canon, quote unquote canon until you can make money, retconning everything. Like it's all canon. No one really
My
cares.
issue is that at that point, any plot hole that can be found in a novelization can just be dismissed as non-canon, and you can just kind of pick and choose what happens to be canon and what also happens to not be canon, just to strengthen whatever argument somebody could make in favor of it.
I think like another thing too is that like if the idea is that like the comics can be contradicted as the filmmakers see fit, then my question is, what is the point of making the comics in the first place?
Money.
If not only, and if it's money, then like just admit that that's the case, because
everything made for money.
Well, that's true, but then like don't like. In this case, to the MonsterVerse people, and don't have a mythology department. Don't like waste my time with like entry and say like, oh, like we really care about like this universe and like the timeline and making sure everything connects, because it's not. Like again, Monarch Legacy of Monsters portrayal of the Castle Bravo, like those events did not need to be changed. They changed it because they wanted to. And
they changed it because
they're all dead, by the way. All the people in that Castle Bravo thing, they're all dead. I hope you all know that.
I was wondering about that. How did they survive that whole? Because they were pretty close.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple answer: they didn't.
Yeah, like they retconned Godzilla they retconned the way that Godzilla rose up, before the nuke went off in his face, in Monarch Legacy Monsters, like as if they were like, oh come on, like 2014, yeah, I mean the reason why 2014 did is because they wanted to hold off on showing Godzilla in his full form. But now that you guys know his full form, we may as well just like retcon it just a little bit.
It's also
you also don't think that it could have been like it could have saved money by like having the scene be pretty consistent, and then as a result you don't need to spend this time and money to make a whole new superfluous scene that didn't need to be made.
They could have made the Iron
It's also funny too because this is almost similarly to what happened with the introduction of Kate Randa's character. The whole thing with Kate Randa's character, the way she was introduced as well. It's the same spirit that drove people to change that scene in Castle Bravo. The same thing that motivated them was the same thing that motivated them to change and the excuse here is, oh, we're building up Kate's character. It's still a huge contrivance, however. The technicalities of it. Yeah, I think you have to be extra careful where you you physically position your character for events to take place. So that way, you can keep everything consistent, especially in a pre-established franchise with pre-established lore and continuity. You have to be extra careful where you physically position everything, especially action scenes.
And then like, what's it called? And then if you don't really care too much like about that aspect, then no one's really gonna like care too much if you try to like call back to something. A really good example of this happening recently is the fact that like no one really cared about the leader being introduced in Brave New World again as the leader, because like they really haven't held too much to that continuity in regards to that film anyway. Like Abomination is very different. Ross is very different in how he is in the MCU. So then like why should people like be hyped for something that's probably going to change regardless?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say exactly what I've been saying throughout my Spider-Man Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man streams. Well, I say streams, more like premieres. It's all gimmicks. It's all a gimmick to get people that are like quote unquote fans of the comics, or actually no, the people are fans of the comics. There are people that they're trying to get back the comic book fans to like these movies. Like, oh, you recognize Red Hulk, right? You recognize the Thunderbolts. Oh, guys, Sentry's gonna be in the new Thunderbolts. Did you know that? Oh, this, that, and the other. It's
I completely
just
forgot that Sentry was going to be in that movie. The
how
only
are they
thing that's
gonna
got me
fight him?
interested, yeah,
How?
they're essentially Marvel's Suicide Squad. Like, why?
You're pitting up Marvel. You're essentially pitting up the Suicide Squad against God if he had schizophrenia.
It's like it's like what's it called?
It's worse than the either the Suicide Squad movies, because like at least with the other Suicide Squad movies, well, at least with the James Gunn version, they were fighting against a giant starfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also, like, to be fair, in Godzilla, like with the MonsterVerse, the problem is that this reminded me of what we were talking about, Godzilla evolving. To be fair, everyone was like a coffin baby, and Godzilla evolved was like the nuke. So it was like Sentry against everyone else. Like I just think that they shouldn't have evolved him at
Yeah.
all.
Oh, definitely
The
not.
story would
No, they
have
shouldn't have
been
upgraded
better.
him, especially if the upgrade means absolutely nothing. To be honest, I think the upgrade serves two purposes. The first purpose is to sell toys because you can't keep selling the same exact Godzilla model over and over again. People are going to get tired of it.
Joke's on you.
Of course, there's the super fans that have nothing better to do with their money, but
Aw. But I have better things to do. It's called alcohol, man.
No, what about investing? Just invest. Invest
And
in
alcohol.
yeah. The second
I
reason.
donate to my local breweries like any good red-blooded American man.
Yeah. The second reason why the transformation was introduced is because they needed something for Godzilla to do. They couldn't come up with something for him to do, so they just said, "Hey, what if he got stronger? Killing two birds with one stone."
It's
Bada
actually
bing, bada
really
boom.
easy. Look, all they had to do was make him lose. Like make me think that Scar King is a threat. With Shimo, and none of them are gonna survive. Like from the very beginning.
I never liked
film too
to
is
be
the
a Scar
fact
King,
that
to be
this is
honest.
technically like Scar
Why
King's
not?
Godzilla's rival, but in Kong's story. Because
Yeah,
like
it would have made more
the
sense
only
if
like the character that has history with Scar King is Godzilla, but the character that has the emotional like weight to like combating him is Kong. It's like the same problem with how 2014 the main monster that Joe Brody has like issue with and drives his actions is the Mutos rather than Godzilla.
It can just be like arguing with the.
What was that?
That could just be like blaming the marketing.
Well, it's blaming the argument, but like for example, the reason like Packard also has a connection to a monster, but it's Kong. It's not the Skullcrawler.
Yeah, but that one didn't have false advertising, so
it didn't have. Well, then it's still a problem with the MonsterVerse, though. And I think
Yeah,
I think 2014 is
problem
just
with the marketing is one thing. Problem with the actual writing is something completely different.
It's still a problem with the writing, but another thing too is the fact that like in my like looking at everything, 20 like KSI is just a better written 2014 for the most part.
True.
I still even if I will always prefer 2014 over literally any other MonsterVerse movies. I will acknowledge that Kong Skull Island is probably the better written one out of all of them.
Oh no, I prefer I like watching 2014. I like watching King of the Monsters more than KSI, but I think from just writing wise, I think KSI is the best written.
I think,
and it's also the most.
I think it's because of the tension as well. Like it keeps you at the edge of your seat.
Too many people talking.
And there's more personal conflict in KSI, not a world-ending thing. Just characters that we care about.
And even the action, to be fair, like the Skullcrawler is like the third best fighter from all the kaiju, because I can make Godzilla as a robot, not a kaiju, but the Skullcrawler really knows how to use its body to fuck everyone up. Like he literally throws Kong away,
with its tail,
I also love the fact that I can be able to even see the fight to begin with. I love it when I can see what's happening on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say
a
little while ago, can I say?
Yeah.
It was about the whole lore we were talking about, like the whole Monarch thing. I didn't know if I think someone said that the showrunner said they didn't really care about the lore. They just wanted to make their own thing. I don't remember.
it's not the fact that they said they didn't care about the lore, but it's the fact is that like they're not lore experts. There's more people more talented who know about the lore, but they just wanted to tell their own story.
Yeah, but also the show is intended to be like the lore show, so that just makes no sense to me. But
exactly.
Yeah, that's a criticism I have a lot with it. But what I was going to say is that they really should come out with a lore compendium book or something like that, and like try to right all the wrongs and the inconsistencies with the world. So it's like, hey, the Godzilla that appeared at Castle Bravo, there's like 3 versions of it. Just tell us exactly what the in-universe canon explanation is, so you can, when you watch it or read the comic or something, you know that's not exactly what happened. It's just like, do that so at least we know that there is some thought to like right those mistakes, despite knowing that they happen.
Like
honestly, I'd rather just have a movie or a TV show to explain it, because I already paid for the ticket for the movie.
No, that's true. I agree with your point there, but like, since I know Titan Books has been the one that's been publishing a lot of the Godzilla books recently, if Titan literally, or like DK or Titan, released a compendium, it would do a lot for the general public to know that, and then as a result,
because it will go like on Wikizilla and like people will explain it in videos, so it'll just be more effective.
Yeah, it does nothing but help the franchise in that aspect, and I think that like if people show that they care about
that, but at least make the effort to try to fix it.
I'm gonna be honest. I think turning it into a book might not be the best idea for multiple reasons. The first one is this is a film franchise. I would expect the movies to explain their own continuity,
I know. That's what I'm saying. But it's better than nothing.
No, I think that the book is a good start, but I think that a movie, if hypothetically between this film and the next one, we got both a compendium book, and then the next film also explained more of the lore. Those would both be I think good options to have.
I feel like
another thing.
I was going to say, how do you? Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to respond to that point. It's like, how exactly narratively would that fit in if you were trying to explain everything? Like, would it be a TV show? Would it be a movie? Like, how would you structure it that way?
I would say a movie and a TV show. So, the best option would be that Blom season 2 fixes things, and the next film does, because then you have both the film and the big TV show working in tandem to fix those problems.
I would, you know what I said one time? I would love for them to make a animated TV series similar to Primal, where they have an anthology story for each Titan and explain a lot about them each way with minimal dialogue and everything.
No, it would do well to do something like that, and that would be the perfect medium, I believe, to fix a lot of the problems with the ancient past, because then we'd have far more consistency in terms of that part of the MonsterVerse lore, since a lot of that's also very nebulous.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to Black Aruni's thing about the whole Kate situation, because I do agree that the way, how the bus was, all the kids died, it didn't even have to be that way, because they make it so Godzilla gets stuck on the bridge when we know in the movie he just goes right through it. You could have made it so right before he goes through the bridge, he's trying to get them out, but all of a sudden Godzilla automatically goes through the bridge and he destroys the bus when he's going through, and that wouldn't break any continuity whatsoever.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said in the Kate Randa video.
Yeah.
In regards to the lore thing, I've always said that to fix the lore, you would need at least either a trilogy or one movie, and kind of like what Zim said just now. My issue is that, although it would help to have some sort of authority that one can point to be okay, this is the lore, this is the canon, this is how things go. There's also quite a lot of problems that originate only in the films, so I would expect the films themselves to address them, because if I need to get a book, right, to explain to me what's happening in a movie they already paid the tickets to buy to see, that just feels like you're just ransacking for my money.
I think in that case, my stance on it would be that the what's it called? The only things that the film, that the source book, if we were to introduce it, should address is anything that came before it. So any contradictions pre GXK should be addressed. Anything else, the movie if the movie is introducing anything new itself, then the movie has to do its due diligence and explain its own stuff.
Yeah.
And
Another thing
I would also say too is that hypothetically, if they are referencing other things, then those things should also be consistent with the book. So therefore, it goes film is explaining its own stuff. Anything else addressed can also be addressed in the book. Therefore, at least in that aspect, everything is being addressed to one degree or another.
The problem is that they treat this
I did not
kind
realize
of
you were here for
things
so long.
like a guide, you know, like no one is taking it seriously because the thing is, you can make a compendium. First of all, I also think that it's useless to have it as a book because, like, first of all, who buys guides? You know, like when I see the official Godzilla guide, I think those people are kind of sad, to be fair. But anyway, you know, like the thing is, if the director,
I am sad, so there you go.
I would say like we should let's at least address that right there, that claim there, because like, for example, there's Dragon Ball guides, Warhammer guides. There's like guides for like every series. So like I don't understand the criticism that's sad for them to get a guide. And like
Warhammer, I understand. Warhammer, I understand because Warhammer is multimedia.
No, because like the Horus Heresy, you don't need a whole lot from a guide to understand what goes on in the Horus Heresy, but there's still like guides for it.
And yeah, but again, like for example, if you make one for like Lord of the Rings, you know, which are very extensive books, very dense. I think
like,
kind of.
Not really Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings is very easy to understand from just the books. Like you do not need to know about Baron and Luthien.
But you also have the Silmarillion. You know,
the Silmarillion has very little bearing on.
Or even D&D, maybe. Like that'd be like if D&D itself is of a comparable expansion, albeit yes, it is structured in a very different way from Warhammer, I think. But
to a degree,
it's still, but D&D still has that massive expansion. And how many guides of that game exist? That's rhetorical.
The thing about that's somewhat rhetorical because like at least in the case of D&D, the reason why there's so many other source books for it is because you're also in different like locations. So like Curse of Strahd doesn't take place in the Forgotten Realms, I think, and I know it's no longer they don't make new content for it, but like Athos is completely cut off from like everything else in the D&D multiverse. So there's that. But like another argument I would propose is the fact that if the Monsterverse is going to continue and there's going to be more and more Monsterverse material, then it does make sense that like there would be more source books that need to be made because the series is just going to keep on getting more expansive as a result.
I think they did that with Star Wars at one point, like with the prequels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with Star Wars, yeah, they definitely did that. There was a comic that I read that was just in between movies where Luke encountered Darth Vader. There was this whole segment where Darth Vader was holding a ship.
That was Spirit of the Mind's Eye.
Oh.
Wasn't that like the what if they couldn't get Empire Strikes Back or Harrison?
That was a what if. And it ended up being a canon story, yeah. But yeah, like the Star Wars is a pretty good example because we only had the original 3 films, and then Heir to the Empire came out. There was also all the Disney stuff, and then pre-Clone Wars, you got more material like that. If hypothetically, if the Monsterverse isn't like done in like 1 or 2 films, and they just keep on adding to it, then ultimately you're gonna need a compendium of more lore as a result. Like especially if like because now we have a game, we have several TV shows, we have movies, we have comics. The Monsterverse is a multimedia franchise without a
doubt.
Yeah. I would argue that it became a multimedia franchise not for the sake of storytelling, but for the sake of profit. Whereas with something like Warhammer, one could assume that would also be the reason. Then that
was definitely the reason. I know for a fact that was definitely the reason.
However, the difference between Warhammer and the Monsterverse is that with Warhammer, those lore changes will always be implemented in some way or another to other pieces of media.
Well, you don't know that.
I think a better comparison for the Monsterverse in terms of what it became is more akin to Bionicle. Where
you're insulting Bionicle. I will compare Michael's base Transformers.
I'm not trying to insult Bionicle. I'm comparing the two structurally speaking. I have no nostalgia for Bionicle, though. Keep that in mind.
Hey, you watch your mouth here, boy. You watch your mouth.
Dude, okay. Here, let me explain. I respect it.
You will
I'm happy it exists. I'm happy it exists. It just isn't the thing that I grew up with. I grew up with Ninjago.
Understandable.
You are very lucky, my child.
I don't know.
Very lucky. You chose your words very carefully.
If it helps, my brother grew up with Bionicle.
Well, your brother has taste then.
No, but Bionicle, because of just how much of a success it was, it decided it needed to branch out into so many other properties in order to tell its story. And while those properties work in their own right, seriously, the lore for Bionicle is incredible. Like even for a Lego property, this is astounding. But it's kind of what Bionicle did, where it had, and in a way it was kind of necessary in order, not just because of the amount of stuff it was doing, but in order to keep itself alive, to create future material and continue to be a success.
I think
but it did stay consistent.
Yeah, Bionicle stayed pretty consistent for the most part. It was only like the later material. And the one thing I will say is that definitely the reason why Bionicle, those other factors, like I know Bionicle was making more pieces, like more unique pieces every year than like any other Lego product was, which also added to like why it shut down. But like because of how like very like deep the lore was, that was one of the another reasons why they stopped doing it, is because since it was primarily just aimed at children, they were they realized that a lot of the lore was getting like were forgotten about or like kind of
are you guys aware of Lego Rewind?
I mean, I remember seeing
like the projects where like they have a
it's by Nick on Planet Ripple. It's a guy who goes through the history of different Lego themes or topics. His video on Bionicle, like, goodness gracious, I think that explains perfectly. It's like he explains it perfectly in that video. No parent is going to really understand what who X character is or Y character is. That's why they simplified it for the reboot. And say what you will about the reboot, I think the simplification did kind of help, at least at first.
No, it did. I mean, maybe in the first wave it was actually no. In the first wave, the toys were.
Yeah, that's what I meant with the first. Yeah. That's what I meant with the first wave. At first, the thing was pain.
If you're talking like the textbook definition of multimedia franchise, then I guess you could consider the MonsterVerse that, because there are multiple Godzilla at least multiple MonsterVerse pieces of media.
I wouldn't just limit it to the MonsterVerse at that point. I just say the entire Godzilla franchise.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, one thing is saying multimedia as in each individual piece of media interlocked with each other in terms of lore implications and story. Another thing is just
that's what you mean. Okay.
Another thing is just another completely different thing is saying that they have different pieces of media that are that have that same brand. If we're using that definition, that I would the former definition of multimedia franchise, that I wouldn't describe the MonsterVerse that way.
I could describe the Showa era that way though, because we have Zone Fighter and we have manga adaptations of the Showa films.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
I'd say the same thing for the Heisei era. Throw in toys in that regard, because Treadmasters was doing their thing in the 90s.
Well, it's now a TV show for itself. You can say, I guess we can count the Rai, but it doesn't count.
No, but you also had manga. You had compendium books. You had actual books that tied in. You had multiple video games at the time.
Well, Final Wars also had a compendium, and it has no continuity with anything.
No, it doesn't.
Neither.
Well, wait. One second.
I would say.
I know we're arguing about two different like definitions.
We're just discussing like the entire franchise as multimedia processes. It's like because Rick, you brought up the Showa era. Like Heisei era, I would say is similar to that, because you have books, you have manga, you have toys, you have multiple video games releasing in roughly a yearly basis by that point. Even if there wasn't a TV show tie-in, hell, debatably you could throw in the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy being its own separate thing. I think that's its own continuity, though. I don't
It's
remember.
continuity, yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, though Mothra herself was very heavily intrinsic to the Godzilla franchise at that point, so maybe you could still count it regardless.
Heisei Gamera trilogy actually it has multiple forms of media because we have the Gamera versus Barugon manga, I think,
and the Gamera Guardian
Yeah.
of the Universe comics from Dark Horse.
Yeah,
and Matt Frank did something.
Matt Frank did The Last Hope, yeah.
So technically,
Yeah.
that counts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I would say like the most prevalent example of multimedia, where like the use of the term multimedia project in like modern media, I would say would probably be Star Wars, due in parts to the idea that the books, comics, and games were all separate stories that tied back to the larger universe that was Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they? There was this guy that this N64 game. Was it called Shadows of the Empire or something?
Shadows of the Empire was a game, but was that the N64 game? I think so.
And it had this character with his own ship, and that ship I think had a cameo in the special editions.
It was Shadows of the Empire was the N64 game,
and his ship was in the special edition, so he's technically canon, even in the Disney one.
Oh yeah, Dash Rendar.
Yeah, Dash Rendar.
Yeah,
big ship.
Which special edition is it?
I think it's a special edition of Attack of the Clones, wasn't it?
No, it was A New Hope. It was, I think, one of his the ship when they added them going to Mos Eisley.
Yeah, I know. What's it called? Yeah, it might be A New Hope because I just remember that was something added, and it was either in Attack of the Clones or New Hope, since I knew they were both took place in Mos Eisley.
It would have to be it would have to be A New Hope because Attack of the Clones didn't have a special edition, technically speaking.
Oh yeah.
Well, they did get revisions like the prequels, just more minimal.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They weren't like special editions to them, but there were.
No, I mean they were tweaked a little bit for like the Blu-ray releases in like 2012, or somewhere 2011, I think. But nothing as significant as what the what the OT got back in like the 90s and early 2000s.
It's been this way since 97, basically.
Yeah,
Well,
as well as apparently Dash had other material added to him in canon versus Legends, where there's a lot more of them there. But yeah, I think we get the point. What were we gonna say though?
Going back to the compendium thing, I don't really find it useful if there's so many plot holes, because one thing is that you have different versions of different events, because of different projects. I can forgive that, but when even within the movies themselves you have so many plot holes, I don't feel like a compendium can actually help. The most it can do is make excuses, and then you have to pray to fucking God that the next creators or writers don't fuck it up again.
Well, that's the point. Is that like the point of the compendium itself is that is one part of a whole to help fix the issues that are present. Because if hypothetically, if they did release a compendium and then the next director ignored it, then there's no point to making a compendium. But the point is to create as much material that is actually trying to be as consistent as possible. So therefore, you're combating all of the material that wasn't connective in that same sense.
Do you trust that the writers will be trustworthy enough to really stick to that hypothetical compendium? Because so far they've proven otherwise.
I would say best scenario, like perfect world, yes, they would. In this case, I don't believe they would. But the point of the hypothetical in itself is to provide the best possible scenario in this case. Because I think, if I'm being realistic, the Monsterverse probably, the next director will focus on something entirely different that will ignore a lot of what's already come before.
That's why I'm asking if they do something like a compendium and then they follow that.
Mm-hmm. Because I know for a fact, what's his name? The third new actor that got revealed as a actor for the sequel. Apparently, he's playing a new Monarch scientist. So that means we're gonna have another character who is a Monarch scientist who we've never heard of before be a part of the franchise.
He's Kaylee Pepper's boss.
What is this, like the third rotation already? This is like the third boss.
Mark Russell, damn it.
Like
nobody cares about him anymore.
Like here's the thing:
care about
is that
him. I
he
love
could
Kyle
totally,
Chandler.
he could
Why do you
totally
never
be
do my pitch?
I would please Kyle Chandler.
like AO, but like he could, like the actor could definitely serve and play an older Houston Brooks, but I doubt they're gonna make Houston Brooks appear in this next film because the Monsterverse never has recast the person as a new person.
Well, they had Houston Brooks in King of the Monsters.
Was he played by? Was he played by a different actor?
He was played by Joe Morton. He was Miles Dyson. He was played by the same actor who plays Cyborg's dad in Justice League.
Okay.
Joe Morton.
I thought that
he was in the Mothra where she's hatching out of the.
No, I knew he was there.
They also changed his face in Kingdom Kong as well.
I thought it was the same actor, but like with prosthetics on him to appear older. So
No.
yeah, in that case, hypothetically, if this is the only character that's appeared multiple times with different actors, so yeah, maybe he could be Houston Brooks. More than likely, he won't.
Yeah. I don't trust the writers to make that change. To be honest, I don't trust. Honestly, like I think that if this upcoming new project tries to be good and fails, I don't think it'll be the writer's fault at that point. I think the best possible course of action for this kind of project would be to focus on writing a character story, and just like if you're gonna ignore the plot, then fine. At least we'll have like a good, because that's how a lot of the Marvel movies are. Like a lot of them, like structurally, they don't work in terms of like plot, but in terms of character, they're absolutely phenomenal. So
yeah, but they're all stuff like. Even still, I think that if you're part of a multimedia franchise, you need to do both. And like, even then, they don't usually do a good job with character. Like the most recent Falcon film has a lot going on, you could say character-wise, but really doesn't do a whole lot. And even Falcon and the Winter Soldier doesn't do a whole lot well either.
Mm-hmm. Well, it did
be that as it may,
that S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't like, perfect. Which
what do you mean?
Was Winter Soldier, like, kind of established that, no system was perfect, including S.H.I.E.L.D., and that did eventually, like, change. But, like, whatever, never mind.
Wait, are you talking about in-universe, or you're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Sorry, I kind of missed some of what you said.
No, never mind. It's not important.
Okay.
I think Macaroni wanted to say something.
I was going to say that, be that as it may, in response to what you said, be that as it may, I think still the best course of action is whatever you want to do with the plot, you try to make it as coherent as possible. But if you fail, then at the very least, then you can write a compelling character-focused story to compensate for that, and just ignore any contradictions of the lore, because I don't think it would be possible for either film, for any film really, for this film in particular, just one, to fix all the problems that are present, because there's just so many. Right now the lore is just Swiss cheese. I wouldn't
considering just the kind of damage, even if you like the movies, considering just the kind of damage that both Wingard films did to the lore. Cottam wasn't much of an impact. It was an upping of the stakes, yes, but it wasn't a lore tear apart. GVK and GXK were.
Absolutely.
The latter especially, and to make up for that damage, it's like you said, it's not just going to take one film. It's going to take a monumental effort, at least two, maybe.
I'd say a trilogy, at least 3 films that consistently do like their part in fixing the damage to the universe, because then it does pave over the consensus that was the Wingard films and where they push things. And if that trilogy is able to more consistently be in line with the Cottam era of lore and fix even some of the things that Cottam did to 2014, I would say that in that case, you would have a much more consistent universe as a result.
Yeah, like a trilogy of films is probably what's probably gonna be needed in order to fix what GVK undo the damage that GVK and GXK did. And even then, I would say the first movie, if it's a good starting point, it would have to go like smaller scale. Like it can't just like have like huge world-ending stakes like GXK pretty much had, because otherwise it's not going to have enough time to even like be able to fix, even just fix some issues that GBK and GXK did. Like just have fix some here and there, but still just have it be a smaller scale story, and then the other two films could just like go on and fix the rest from there on.
It's funny that we could consider GVK to be smaller scale compared to the other films, because the way Nathan Lind in the film describes the necessity for Kong to reach the Hollow Earth, he's like, "Oh, we need Kong. The world needs him." Almost as if implying that if Kong doesn't do what he needs to do, the world will end. So I have to wonder, like, is Kong really that important in the grand scheme of things? Is he really?
Well, he's the
What was
only
my
one that's
happenstance
able to help
in
them find the
GBK?
energy.
Wait, one at a time. Rick, and then someone else.
Well, he's the only one that they're trying to like help cooperate to help find the energy. The energy. So
I know that. I'm just asking. Like, the reason why I'm asking is because, well, if the Titans can sense their energy or whatever it is, it's really it's radiation, but we'll just call it energy for the sake of the argument. If they feel like they need a Titan to help them lead the way to get to the Hollow Earth and get whatever power source they need, they could have used any Titan. If they could find a way to strap Bunyip to a
but they have. Well, Colin is able to communicate with, so it's pretty.
Yeah, I would say in that case, the thing is that like Kong is the only cooperative Titan.
Yeah, unlike other Titans like Behemoth or Methuselah, who are one also probably at risk of putting a major population center down, and two equally just as dangerous with bringing Godzilla into the picture, and nowhere near as cooperative, even if they are benevolent. Kong is the best option at this point, considering he's already established a heavy relationship with another human.
Well, honestly, there's also smaller Titans as well, and we're seeing that Kong is pretty much domestic in the sense that they use sedatives to keep him at bay. So you don't really need to even if he isn't cooperative, even the Titan isn't cooperative. On top of the fact that the people already know where the portal is, even though they say that they don't, but they clearly do. We see the diagram there. When Walter Simmons meets Nathan Lind, the map is right there. Even if the Titan isn't cooperative, they have the capacity. I don't know how, but they have the capacity to sedate Titans. So even if they're not cooperative, they could sedate them long enough for them to make it through the entire trajectory. And if it's a smaller Titan, like for example Spirit Tiger or whatever it's called, then surely they shouldn't have that much trouble helping lead that Titan towards the entrance of the Hollow Earth. And also,
I was going to say, just take a dog.
Take a what?
Would they be able
a dog?
A dog. That's true. It's also funny though, because it also kind of becomes redundant at the end of the day, because we see the Heave overtake Kong as they enter through the Hollow Earth anyway. So it just kind of makes it pointless, because they could have just done that.
There's also the factor of Skull Island being completely annihilated, and Kong's not going to be able to survive there. So may as well kill two birds with one stone. Get the giant monkey off the island and underground to a new home. Relocate him. Find a place where he is equally less likely to attack another civilization, considering he's one of the few Titans that are awake. And use him to get the energy. Leave him down there, and then he'll find his own way.
Good idea.
Especially considering Hollow Earth itself is already proven to be of a comparable environment to Skull Island, it's a worthy shot.
I would say the other thing
that
too is
would have been a good idea if it weren't for the fact that they took the worst possible route in order to achieve that. Yeah, it's almost as if they're setting everything up just to have Godzilla and Kong fight.
How is Tasman Sea the worst route?
The reason why it's the worst route is due to the fact that we see in King of the Monsters that the Tasman Sea is part of Godzilla's territorial waters. So as a result, the idea of going to the Tasman Sea to ignore the territorial routes is an invention by GVK that is contradicted by King of the Monsters previously. Excuse me. And then
King of the Monsters also had Kong leaving the island, and Mike Doherty said, yeah, that's a mistake we made.
Yeah, well, but then the thing is that Kong leaving the island does affect the plot, and I'd say that's a knock against King of the Monsters, whereas there was no reason for them to contradict the territorial waters as shown in King of the Monsters, since then you don't have to come up with new maps for GVK.
Was Skull Island originally in China?
Yeah, that was something we covered earlier. Was the fact that Skull Island moves around.
And
well, here's the thing. They said that there's creatures on Skull Island like escaping, but they didn't say Kong specifically was escaping.
There was a monitor showing Kong leave.
Yeah, you see, what's it called? Actually, funny enough, the reason why I set up the stream in the first place is because someone on Twitter had said that, like, oh, we don't see Kong in King of the Monsters leave the island. When I'm like, yeah, no, here's the picture of it on screen of Kong showing to be leaving the island.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, this is why I don't run with this, but I personally prefer conceptually the novelization's take on it, where Kong hears Ghidorah's call and just ignores it, but instead has to respond to the Skullcrawlers doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike even said that the novelization there is canon, where Kong hears it, he ignores it, but he sees that the Skullcrawlers are responding to it.
Yeah. Again, that's like another issue.
Also, why can't they resist the alpha call? The whole point of the alpha call is that they can't resist it. So why can't they?
So right there, you see that Skull Island is right here, and there's Kong dipping his way out.
Actually, it's more so.
How the hell is he swimming from Kong Skull Island to South America? Oh fuck no!
Oh my god! Wait, I did not realize that. Wait, I did not realize it. Pause. You're telling me that this entire time he could have just swam to a place that had a bunch of enough wilderness to keep Kong isolated from the rest of the world, like South America.
Oh fucking hell!
No, because here's like that's Mothra right there.
You just made the entirety of Godzilla vs. Kong absolutely pointless.
Here, hold on. Can you zoom in the image?
On that, Rooney. I was making a reference to
one at a time. Wait. So,
hold on.
Minecraft NC.
I did not mean to do that to you, Rooney. I was making an EFAP reference.
Oh.
Can I even? No, it's not gonna let me.
Yeah, I mean, zoom in as much. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm just gonna save it.
Well, I wanted to. Is there something I could say, Sim?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, because do you have the scene right before Mothra comes out of her cocoon? Because well, I believe it even shows on that Kong is leaving Skull Island, but here it looks like he's heading right. But when it shows I forgot his name, Houston Brooks, he's looking at the screen and Kong's moving left.
Oh no!
Could it be a matter of perspective?
Oh no, that just makes GVK look worse.
Wait, could you repeat that?
GVK looks incredibly stupid now.
Wait, as if it didn't earlier, but hold on, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that?
Who's repeating what?
Me?
There's no there.
The information, whoever was talking.
I think that was Rick.
It was me.
Wait a minute.
I need to pull up the scene where Houston Brooks, right before Mothra comes out of her cocoon, and does the Mothra song.
I think send that to me in DMs, and then I can pull it up in a separate tab that way.
Okay, because I believe when he's looking at it, because he's also seeing Ghidorah call the Titans, and he's seeing they're all breaking out, and then Mothra does her thing. But one of them, it shows Kong is going to the left, but here he's going to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them are accurate because he's not supposed to be leaving the island. So,
well, not supposed to be accurate to GVK.
Well, no, it's not even accurate to itself because Mike said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said the novelization was the canon one, and he's contradicting himself because if on this screen he's moving right, but later on when they see it, he's moving left.
So because he corrected the mistake, he went left, and then he was like, "Wait, I have to go back to the island," and then he went.
So he's left of he's right of the island here, but then he's left of the island the next.
He went too fast, and he couldn't stop in time.
Where in the movie is this shot?
Where I'm showing you?
This is when Admiral stands.
This is when Admiral Stens is looking at then Admiral Stens is talking about the Titan locations.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So is this after Mothra's awakening, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I saw Titanus Masura on the thing right above Central America. That explains why Mothra's awake. Okay.
Yeah, because Mothra is right here. Quetzalcoatl's there. Behemoth's there. Kong,
and she's headed
Scylla's there.
she's headed straight for Castle Bravo. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Castle Bravo would be right by Cuba. Okay.
Yeah, Castle Bravo is in the Bermuda Triangle, isn't it? Or like somewhere close to the Bermuda.
Yeah. That's what it said. It's in the Bermuda Triangle somewhere. So okay, that explains it. Yeah. Also, on the topic of the original Titans, can we please acknowledge them in these future movies and not kill them off?
Nah.
We have 7.
Nah.
7 left.
Yeah, we have 7 left. Wait, do we?
Minimum.
Just,
Because it was
why I'm
17
gonna
and
go get the
counting.
clip. I'll be right back.
7 that we haven't seen. Yeah, 17 total. How many total have we seen?
The thing is, like, guys, do
out of
you
all
even
of
think
them-
that we'll get enough movies to see
Masura,
anymore?
Kong, Ghidorah,
I mean,
Noda,
considering the fact that they
Tiamat,
decreased the
Behemoth,
budget
Medusa,
for
Scylla.
GXK and it did so well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But, GXK could have done a really good thing by introducing...
Sparing Tiamat and Scylla.
Well, sparing them, but also just giving us more of
Titanus Abaddon.
Exactly. Although I still think Abaddon's design is still absolute dookie doo-doo.
Okay, Titanus Baphomet. Is Camazotz dead? I don't think Camazotz dead.
Isn't dead. My
Okay,
boy
we'll
is
bring him
still
back.
alive. Yeah, exactly. He's still alive.
He's probably one of my
boy-
favorite original monsters out there.
He's my favorite original Titan.
I'm surprised the Iron Dragon is not Baphomet.
I would love to see this get Baphomet.
I think we've seen concept art of Baphomet.
I don't think so. Did we?
I know we know what Mokena and Bebe looks like.
Yeah, that one we know of, as well as we know what the Kraken looks like. Although I doubt that thing's even like technically a true Titan anymore, since there's
Aren't there like 3 different Krakens?
Yeah, the only ones that are known as Titan, like as a Titan Kraken, are the Skull Island Kraken, and then the one that was being kept in a Monarch containment cell. So and they're described completely differently.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember hearing at one point that Nakika was originally named Kraken at one point.
Yeah, but Nakika in like material that we do see. So in that case, I will say I am on the side that it's not. But like, okay, so
I'd like to ask you something, a bit of a question. So we all know that the Monsterverse loves to introduce its retroactive lore, like, oh, in the past there was this, that, and the other. My question is, what is it all leading to? I mean, if you see cinematic universes like the MCU, the introduction of the Infinity Stones in hindsight and then being, in retrospect, in the past, and then being discovered in the modern day, had a purpose in the future. That purpose being introduced in Infinity War as the MacGuffins that Thanos needed to collect to complete his Infinity Gauntlet. We all know this. For the DCEU, if you could even call it, I guess the mother boxes at some capacity, but even then, that was just like the
rival of Darkseid, I would say, would probably
BVS and was probably the only movie before Justice League that really
BVS kind of had, well, even then you have to go by the Ultimate Edition of BVS, which has the hologram of Steppenwolf with what looks to be 3 mother boxes, or at least like 3 signals for mother boxes.
Yeah, I would say
exactly.
BVS's case, the setup was like the payoff was the arrival of Darkseid rather than the mother boxes themselves, whereas in the MCU it was the Infinity Stones. Like, I would say like the closest thing that is comparable would be the arrival, like the Mass Awakening of King Ghidorah, which changes the status quo, but that happened so early in its universe, which is, I think, a problem with King of the Monsters story. But
and then it was completely ignored in the movies following.
Exactly. But I would say the closest thing you could say to a build-up for the Monsterverse would be like the
Oxygen Destroyer
that we're expecting, because if you're setting up to the end of existence, then you could set it up to like the death of something to occur. Like, you could set up more threats that way if like the end goal is a piece that's like shattered in a following film.
Yeah, because like a lot of the times, like they're trying to set up a war, but a lot of the times especially with Scar King. They're trying to set up a war between Titans, but a lot of the time, like a lot of the reasons why these happen in the first place is because Godzilla doesn't end the conflict before it has time to escalate.
Exactly.
And so a lot of the time it just feels very fabricated, very artificial tension. Like the only reason this exists is to justify the film's own existence, which it really doesn't.
I would say
I
like
don't even think that they're going to a war at any point. Like they mention it, but to be fair, I never had a single moment where I thought, okay, their intent is to eventually lead to a war.
Mm-hmm.
To be
I
fair.
don't think there's anything being built up in the monsters, but like
I think
one problem I got that.
So what is even the point of the lore anyway?
Let me talk.
I think literally just
Build
like
up for the month. Can I please speak? The build up to the MonsterVerse from its beginning was the crossover between Godzilla and King Kong. That was the first thing that was teased. That was, well, not first thing that was teased, but it was the thing that was incredibly heavily implied. As soon as Monarch became prominent in Kong Skull Island's plot, and especially with the end credits sequence of Kong Skull Island, and then later the credit sequence of GVK, bringing that promise together.
And
yeah, that's true.
That's
I forgot
over.
about it.
We're done with that. And honestly, like the way it was handled was so poorly that it might as well not have happened. Because what was even the point of all that? Like, okay, Kong and Godzilla fought. Okay, now what? Oh, now they team up.
Now they
Okay,
fight.
that's it.
Yeah,
Is that it?
that is the one thing where it does feel like if the buildup was to Godzilla versus Kong, you have two origin films, a Godzilla film, and then you go right into Godzilla versus Kong. Whereas like it's essentially the same problem that the DCEU had, where it went from a Superman film to immediately fighting Batman.
No, at least the MonsterVerse had the patience to wait 2 more movies.
I think, well, the thing is that like Godzilla 2 was already in development by the time that the Kong movie ended up becoming part of the MonsterVerse. So I think it's less patience and more just a stroke of luck that Godzilla versus King Kong ended up not being the second MonsterVerse film after KSI.
Honestly, I think BVS handled it better narratively. I think it handled it better.
How so?
Yeah, that'll be curious.
For starters,
yeah.
It established that. Hold on.
Well, I think like another problem. Oh, never mind. You're back. If you're back, you can go. Don't worry.
Right. Hold on. So, hold on. It's just So I think it handled it better, BVS, because for one, it established that this is a new version of Bruce Wayne. This Bruce Wayne has been Batman longer than Superman has been. Well, Superman, and I think that the suspicion that Superman might not be who he says he is established really well in the sense that, oh, we have this multi-billionaire has companies everywhere. He has businesses in Metropolis. It would make sense for him to have something in Metropolis, and it would be in character for a character like Bruce Wayne to care about his employees, so that when someone is reckless with their world-saving antics as Superman gets everyone killed, including the mother of a little girl, that same woman who also worked for Bruce Wayne, it would help cement his animosity towards Superman. Obviously, the film is not very good, and everything just goes downhill from there. And the 1% logic he uses for Superman doesn't really make much sense. I've always argued that it makes much more sense in the context of the monsters than in Superman. But the whole point is that the setup kind of made sense for the character of Batman that was being established at that time. We even see a bit of characterization where you see all the rubble falling and he just runs headfirst into the smoke cloud. Imagine if in 9/11, right, the towers are falling, and instead of people running away, you see this one really jacked up guy just running towards the rubble. That is what people would expect Batman to be like. And he would care about, in the meta sense, he would care about his people down to the individual level, because he does value life above all else. I mean, where things kind of contradict is the fact that, well, he values life so much, why does he kill people as brutally as he does? But that's a different conversation. I mean, like I said, the film is kind of bad, but this opening sequence as an introduction to the rivalry between Batman and Superman is just. I'd argue it's the best part of BVS because there are some times where the writing just shines with BVS, and I think that this is one of them. It makes much. Whereas in Godzilla versus Kong, the way they set up the rivalry is, oh, Godzilla hates Kong because Godzilla is racist. They had an ancient rivalry. Godzilla hates the Kongs because they fought in a war, and so okay, well, Godzilla thinks Kong is a no-gooder, a dubious little creature getting up to mischief. This is no good.
That's definitely a problem where in Godzilla King of the Monsters you have ancient paintings of Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah from KSI, and then the following film is ancient cave paintings of Godzilla fighting Kong. So yeah, I would say I understand that point there. Also, apparently that new Godzilla.
If it was a one-time deal, it would have been better.
Yeah. Also, apparently, people have been banking off of the destruction caused by King of the Monsters because in the new Godzilla X Kong mobile game, apparently someone set up something called Rodan's Hot Wings.
What? Wait, hold on, wait.
Oh my god.
Wait.
Rodan's Hot Wings, guys.
Oh, by the way, Zim, I bet you don't remember this. In Thor: Love and Thunder, we got a Thanos themed ice cream restaurant.
Oh fuck! Don't remind me that.
I didn't even watch Thor: Love and Thunder. I refused.
So, Zim, my sense shot, but I was wrong. I thought he went left, but I guess he went right. So my apology.
Honestly, I think this is better handled than what Thor: Love and Thunder did, because what caught him, because it's been quite a bit since caught him. I think the world would have a chance to realize.
Nah, they're both bad.
No, they're both equally bad in terms of, actually, you know what? The thing with Monarch, right? They had the opportunity. If they wanted to lure that turkey away from the island straight into Monster Zero, why did they happen to lead it directly into a populated area instead of going around the island?
Okay, here's the reason.
But it's still better because like Rodan is spicy, like really hot, so spicy, like it makes sense. Like this is something that they will make 100% in Latin America. As an Argentinian,
right, of course, yeah. I love spicy 100%
food. 100% happen.
Yeah, just assume I like spicy food, yeah.
The reason is because they had no idea that Rodan was going to blow down the town. They had no idea that they just wanted to lead him, directly to Ghidorah. If they circled around, that would take a long time, and they didn't have time. So
the problem too is
they had to go.
Mark said that the people are the priority. Mark Russell said that the people were the priority, and they said, "Oh, we're evacuating the town right now." But then the volcano erupts, and out comes Rodan. So they say that the island is arriving. They actually know they had plenty of time to lead Rodan, to lure Rodan around the island, because they were. I think behind the volcano, it's just wildlife, right? There's not a populated area, right?
Well, here's the thing. Actually, I've got the clip pulled up here. It's not even. This is one thing I will say when it comes to a problem with the visuals, because if you look at this shot here, most of this is just forestry here, and it's not even on the other side of the island, because I assume that's the Argo right there, based on where these planes are. So you see them go in, and yeah, there is this whole stretch that's right here. There's this area here, which is obscured by the fog. So if anything, if they banked this way, then they could escape. However, I will counter against Black in the point that if they went around, Rodan was going to catch up with the Argo, and the only reason why Rodan retreated is because Ghidorah got close enough. So the argument could be made that if they went around, Rodan would have caught them, and then the mission fails. But, one sec. Again, I have to crackhead pause.
Okay. I wouldn't have sent the Argo that way. I would have first sent as much firepower as possible to distract. Because again, like the military is not 5 dudes. The military is huge. They could send as much fighter jets as they could to lure Rodan around the island, and then from the island, you do like a relay race thing where you use the fighter jets to protect the Argo, and from that point on, you'd still have the exact same chase sequence without all the stupid deaths. But that's
to be fair. Will they have enough time to actually get that many planes there? Besides, like these ones were evacuating, but they didn't really know Rodan was going to, out of the
Wake up.
volcano.
Well, if they knew that Emma Russell was going to be there and activate the signal there, then surely they must have given the order beforehand, in retrospect, to do that.
They didn't know when.
But here's another thing too, is that you also see right here again, there's just not really, like, you see somewhat of a population center here, but there's nothing here. So instead of banking to the side they did, if they bank this way, you still go back in the direction of Monster Zero.
That was the direction they were coming, though. And the storm,
Yeah,
and the storm is in the direction, and the storm is the direction they're heading. You see the clouds right there.
Here. Yeah, so if they bank it this way, they're still heading back in the direction of the storm.
It's still going to cause that's still a pretty freaking tight turn that runs the risk of having Rodan catch them even earlier, especially or destroy the planes in a worse manner.
I don't think the plane would be a good argument because, again, based on how far the Argo already is, if you bank this way, you're not wasting that much time. And again, if you bank this way and then bank hard where you know Rodan's out of the way, then you save the civilians. And arguably, I would say that if the point is to rescue as much civilians as possible, that's like putting yourself, the professionals, in harm's way. And the civilians not, and allowing them time to escape would be the better option. It would be the more sound option for these people.
Yes, because that's what soldiers are there to. That's what soldiers are there to do.
Mm-hmm. I know that, like, what's it called right now? We're landing in on 9 more minutes left of stream because I'm going to do it as 2 minutes because I took some night's quill for myself, so I'm going to probably die on stream before then. But I also want to see how 2 hours works for a stream. But if there's any like big topics we want to discuss before we end the stream,
I am so glad you asked that. I am very glad you asked that. Me and Minecraft World were having a discussion regarding certain thematics of the movies, and I was thinking a lot about how
There's more so thematics about the entire franchise.
More or less, yes. I want to focus more on Serizawa in the MonsterVerse because a lot of it harkens back to that very same idea of humanity's hubris in huge quotations. I don't think it's bad writing necessarily, but I just find it in very bad taste to say, oh, humanity sins, right? What was it that we were talking about? Exactly. What were the words? I'm trying to remember the exact words that I used because
One moment. I still remember the conversation. I need to go back and find it. It was not in Zim's server. It was on the Godzilla server. It was a different one. Fuck. Let me go back. Actually, wait, now I'll look for it on my phone. That'll be easier. But yeah, I recall this discussion, and I recall
7 minutes.
Several other people.
It's gonna either will come into the next stream or.
I think it might have to come into the next stream, but come on, Discord crashed on me. God damn it.
Really, Discord crashed. Is it doing like an update soon or something?
No. It happens. It happens every now and then on my phone. My phone just randomly kicks me out of the app I'm on.
Do we only have like 7 minutes left?
We got 7 minutes. I just want to see how a 2-hour stream on like MonsterVerse / Godzilla topics is gonna do.
Can I say my final piece then, and then everyone else can guess?
In this case, since you're still trying to find things, Minecraft, we'll save it for another stream. And
I actually did find it. I'm sending you screenshots of.
Okay.
I'm sending you the screenshots.
Send me the screenshots, and I'll see if it's something that's probably going to need to happen for another stream. Rick, say your point.
Yeah. Okay. So, going back to the whole compendium thing, I think there is always a possibility that they can course correct and fix everything that all these movies and TV shows and all that stuff have done by contradicting itself. So that's why I say we should ask them to like make some sort of compendium, and the future products follow that to a T. And if they do that and they mess up, then that we can probably throw tomatoes at them. But I'd like to give them a chance and do something like that. But if that's just not what they want to do, then it sucks, because this type of thing that they're trying to do is something that requires something like that. And it's just been inconsistent since the very beginning. It's only added on since then with each movie. And whoever. So I do think we need some sort of way to, have a beginning, middle, and end, and don't have it contradict itself whatsoever. I do agree with a lot of points. A lot of things brought up were fun to talk about. So yeah, I do something like that. If the next movie is like a natural progression from these other movies, like they acknowledged a bunch of that stuff, and it could only continues from there, then I think we're on the right track.
Yeah.
Send me. Did you?
I don't think it'll be on this stream. I'll send it to you regardless.
Okay, yeah, send it to me regardless, so that I'll remember to bring it up for the next stream. And I'm thinking what I might do as well is
because honestly, I
might bring up specific topics.
Yeah, because I think the discussion that we had, Rennie, was actually really good, and definitely needs to be brought up.
Because I'm thinking probably what might be the case is that I might start doing these bi-weekly at probably they'd start around this time and end closer to 11. But so we'll do 9, or actually no, probably 9:30 to about 10, 11 or 10:30, 11ish. So an hour and a half or 2 hours or so. So that's what I'm thinking. For future ones like these, since I think these are a little bit more open and everyone can join for them. So
may I say 30 seconds, just for 30 seconds, in regards to what Rick said. I don't necessarily disagree with the sentiment that we could use that kind of compendium to fix a lot of the problems, but a lot of the stuff that they got in terms of plot, narrative, lore, a lot of the stuff that just contradicts itself, like plot, lore, character writing, if you could even call it that. It's a lot of it just comes down to downright just incompetence, and honestly, it shouldn't have to be that way. We shouldn't need a compendium to fix the problems that writers who were not competent enough to keep track of their own writing. I don't think.
I'm not talking about the movie itself. I'm talking about movie to movie.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's just everything in general. It just shouldn't have to. It didn't have to be written in such a way where we would have needed that type of thing to fix things. We did. I don't disagree with you.
I think that what's it called? Did you both agree with each other? Because Rick's not making the point that we need it. I think it's a fact that purely as a product, that's something that'd be cool to have. But as something that in the future,
it shouldn't happen.
It can help.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with him. I'm just lamenting the fact that it just had to. It would need to come to that.
Yeah, I understand that.
I wouldn't say it's due to incompetence, but more accurately, lack of planning. And lack of planning isn't the same as incompetence. It's more so the fact that they had no idea of what they were doing. Most of the monster versus very existence came down to luck. And the fact that it's still alive is because of said luck.
I think it's a mixture of both.
I think
there's some incompetence, luck, and then some
50-50.
lack of planning. Maybe I think there's definitely a little bit more involved overall when it comes to everything in totality. Because again, even when it came to the first two major projects in the Monsterverse, Awakening in 2014, they were both made by the same guy. So Shinamura was never planned as to be mentioned in any of the films, so there was no reason for them to contradict a scene they were gonna show on screen anyway. Because if you remove 2014's opening and you just have the picture from 2014, then Awakening is like Awakening 2014 are more consistent.
I thought Monarch was. They said it was founded in 46. So
yeah, so more consistent. So then you need to change more dialogue. So I think like small changes to 2014's movie do better for Awakening. But then the other problem is that the comic shouldn't, like the comic's fault shouldn't take precedence over the film, even though the film technically has an easier job in that aspect. But I think that's something we'll have to bottle for next week because we just hit the 2-hour mark.
All right, I got like 20 seconds. I just wanted to respond to Black and Remy's thing. Like, I do agree that shouldn't have been the case, but in terms of something like this, when like something could have been prevented, but like it's still like, I don't know, like a wound, it's still like need a Band-Aid for it. So something like that is nice, and make sure it doesn't happen again, like a mistake or something like that.
So, no, I completely agree.
Yeah, so I thought I had another point, but whatever. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Just quick shillings for everyone. We'll start at the top. Lau, you go. Then C, Minecraft, World It On.
Well, I don't really have anything to say. So thanks to everyone for being here. It's always nice to talk to you, and that's it. Goodbye.
Awesome.
All right. So this has been one of your guests, the Sea Monster. I have have a YouTube channel, Sea Monster Essays, where I do streams of my own. So I have kind of moved an upcoming stream I have to the 4th of March, unfortunately, because some things have just kind of come up. As of late, I haven't really been able to have a lot of time. I haven't really had a whole lot of time to really work on stuff, but I am, I'm trying, trying to make the time. But just kind of follow me on the channel pretty much, and on my Twitter on Sea Monster. There it is.
Minecraft.
Oh, we're doing shilling. Okay. Sorry about me being muted a little bit. I had technical issues. But yeah, find me on YouTube, Minecraft World 1954. You can also type that same thing for Instagram and Kara and Blue Sky. I have stuff there, including concepts for Instagram and Kara, concepts for a Greek mythology kaiju story, among other things. And on YouTube, I have a I have a Nemesis character study video essay coming out, hopefully sometime. Sometime, probably, maybe, I don't know. And a Godzilla the Arrival pitch redux, which I have been working on as we have been streaming, by the way, because it felt topical. And that should be coming out sometime, maybe, hopefully, probably, I don't know. Read Project Nemesis. Tiamat deserve better. Bye. Take care. Peace.
Boo.
Black man.
Yes. Y'all already know where to find me. Server's always available. If the link is unavailable, then let me know. I'm doing some maintenance, some damage control, black screen. We're not going to be able to do episodes every Sunday, so we've settled for pre-recorded episodes, heavily edited. Of course, I'm doing the new Spider-Man series that came out. I uploaded an episode yesterday because I couldn't on Sunday because it turned out to be a whole lot more heavy with editing than I realized, but it was finished. GVK analysis coming up soon, very soon, depending on how y'all want me to release it, whether that's like a full length 4 hours, because right now Act 1 is longer than the movie, like 20 minutes longer than the movie, just Act 1. Where
it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, it is. And what else? I might work on an analysis of Invincible because I have been watching it and reading the comic as well. Invincible is awesome, and so might do something with that in the future. So stay tuned for that.
All right. On Discord, I'm Hakmuto. I don't have a YouTube channel or anything. I just have an archive of our own account. I write fanfic, and the account is called Tidal Wave 21. that is about it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Ricky boy. To Rick.
You guys might not know this, but I happen to be a squirrel. So you guys can probably find me in the trees or your local backyard. So I'll see you then.
Awesome. And thank you guys for staying with me. We're going to see how these 2-hour small live streams kind of play out. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. And always just remember, guys, stand tall.
Semper Fi, motherfucker.